Yo, what is up, lads and ladies? Simon here. Welcome you to the third episode of Zoomin on the Rift, which, if you haven't caught the previous episodes, is my podcast dedicated to the LEC, the League of Legends European Championship, or whatever the fuck they call it now. In this episode, we're going to do something a wee bit different than the previous episodes, and something that's, I think, different than any other podcast in the scene, because we got quite a few great ones right now. But I noticed that, with this new format that the LEC has now, we can't really just go over the previous week's matches all the time and analyze them deeply, because the season just moves way too fast now. We've got a very exciting, very packed format, right? And on a podcast like this, I think it's way more important to look into the future and try to predict what's gonna happen in the next games than just watch and then just deeply analyze the previous games and be like, oh yeah, this team really needs to work on that, this team really needs to work on that, because we just ain't have time for that, right? Because two of the teams, SK and Fnatic, are gonna be sorry, spoilers. Two of the teams are gonna be out this week already. It's crazy. I tuned into the LCS yesterday, and those guys are playing the third game of their split, and it's and I'm watching those teams, and I'm like, yo, why the fuck would I even watch that? There's 15 more games to go for each team. Yeah, nah. So, legit. Actually, we'll talk about the LEC format in a second. But anyway, to continue with the changes, what I'm going to focus on from this point on is trying to give you an overview of which matches are really important to watch next week and what to pay attention to, because I think that's something that nobody else in the scene does right now, and I think it's increasingly important with how this new format works. So without further ado, before we get into the storylines from last week, because I did a little preview of what I want to do with the show last week, let's quickly touch on how great this LEC format is. It's we're almost done with the regular season, and I actually want to watch every single game of it. It's bonkers, really. It's in the previous years, right? I would just be oh god, it's week 5 of the regular season. What is the chance that any of those games are going to matter? And sometimes I would just I would still watch them because I am like this, right? But I wouldn't blame people for just tuning out, because just doesn't matter, really. Right now, every game counts, which is exciting in itself, and we're going to best of 3 soon. Oh, how great is that? An unintended side effect of the LEC changes, which is why I think all the other leagues will be like that next year, is that it completely killed my any excitement I have for watching LCK, LPL, or LCS, because those leagues they move so slowly. We're almost done. Do you know what? That's crazy. The whole 3 splits tournament format, it's I love it. Great job to Riot. I wish they had done it sooner, but now that they did, I'll give props where props are due. This format is banging. If we're going to do regional leagues, which I don't necessarily think is a bad concept, this is how to do it. And I really hope that next year they'll switch all the leagues to this 3-split format, and then just add a 3rd international tournament for the year. That would be banging. So, with all that said, let's get into the storylines from the previous week. So if you have not watched the previous episodes, I gave you guys 4 matches that I thought will be very important and really fun to watch in week 4, and a few storylines to pay attention to. So first of those matches, let's just get into Fnatic versus BDS, which is it's one of the games that proves to me that I actually have something in my brain as an analyst. Because, like, you know, before you start doing content, you're like, you know, I have some good takes, but, like, you know, I'm probably like going to miss like 80%, blah 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 blah. But now that I'm like rewatching the previous episodes of this show that I did, like, I genuinely have gotten a lot of stuff right, and one of them was the Fnatic versus BDS match, because I predicted pretty much exactly how it's gonna go. So let's go over it. Now, I'm actually really surprised that analysts, like legitimate analysts in the scene that I know are smart people and I respect them, thought that BDS winning versus Fnatic was an upset. I don't think it is. Like, BDS is just straight up the better team right now, and it was quite obvious from watching both of those teams play last week. So I was like really surprised that people think it's like a huge upset or something. But all right. So I gave you guys 2 points to really pay attention to. First was the Fnatic bot lane, and more specifically Reckless, right? Because he's the guy that like causes, like, it's pretty much the problem for Fnatic right now. And Crowny, on the other hand, the BDS AD carry, is probably like a top 3 AD carry in the LEC right now. And I was like, guy is performing absolutely bonkers. Like, he's great, right? And on the other hand, the Reckless, like, I would say is like a bottom 2 AD carry. Like, who's even worse than him? Maybe Jack Spectra right now, but maybe Patrick. But that's it, pretty much. Like, I would say, like, I would rate every other AD carry much higher than Reckless. And, well, in this laning phase, like, I actually expected BDS to smash the laning phase in bot lane a bit harder. But, you know, still, they won it. And turns out it didn't even matter, because, like, even if Reckless was, like, even with Crown Shot, the things that Crowny did in those team fights were just amazing. Like, this guy knows how to win League of Legends matches. Like, and you can watch the previous episodes. I was never a huge fan of Crowny. I was not. Like, when I watched him on like SK or Vitality, I was like, yeah, this guy is good, but he's overhyped. But now this is the Crowny that was promised. Like, this guy is actually playing insane, and I'm here for it. And also, the second thing I told you guys to pay attention to in this match is, can Fnatic's mid and jungle continue working well together? Because I had some doubts about that, right? Because they had like horrible synergy last year, and they actually came out looking pretty good in week 1. And I was like, do you know what? If they can like win through mid and jungle, like, maybe this Fnatic team can, like, you know, turn this shit around and like become legit. But, well, this fell apart pretty much immediately in week 3. Like, you know, I'm not gonna say they started inting each other again, Razork and Humanoid, but like, those, like, let's just call it quits on this experiment, because those guys, like, they just can't play together. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, those guys just are not good together. I'm just gonna fix my camera for now. Yeah, those guys are just not really good together, and like, we can try to make this work for like the 4th split in a row, or like, realistically, we should see some changes to Fnatic. Like, if I am Fnatic right now, I would definitely consider, you know, like, just go to Upset. I know he doesn't want to play for this team, right? But I would just, first of all, go to Upset and be like, bro, we'll give you everything. You know, we'll even make Reckless play support for you. Just come to our team, just save us, and also get a new jungler. Because yes, Razork is great, but like, Razork and Humanoid are like much less than the sum of their parts together. So there is that. Second, and also, Another thing that was like really surprising about BDS is like, bro, Adam is like, this is the Adam that like I want to see in the LEC, right? Because when he first debuted in EU Masters in like, was it 2021? Or no, I think it was 2020, right? Yeah, when he first debuted in EU Masters in 2020, this guy was like playing Olaf, Darius, like all the time, and I was like, I want to see that in the LEC. I want to see like this unique playstyle. And when he was on Fnatic, he did some of that, but then he kind of like turned into generic top laner number 69. But this time, he's actually just like being like, no, I'm gonna play my style and you're gonna like it. Sure, I mean, the meta does favor him, but still, that's a really cool thing to watch. So, anyway, this Fnatic versus BDS match, we'll talk more about Fnatic later, but it just showed me that like Reckless just does not belong on a team like aspiring. Like, does he even belong in the league is the question, because sure, this guy has mechanics, and this is like what made him a great AD carry in the first place. This is what made him be like the best AD carry in Europe for years. But now that we have players who are just as good, if not better mechanically, people like Hansama, Neon, people like fucking even Exakick is looking better than Reckless right now. We've got upsets in on the bench for Fnatic. And then we've got a guy who just like puts out 3 auto attacks in a team fight and then runs away. God. Like, fair enough. He addressed some of the criticism that I personally levied against him last week, because he was the dead last AD carry in the league when it comes to damage, right? And this week he's actually jumped up all the way to the number 2 spot. It was playing as Lethality Varus though, so this champion just inflates the damage numbers so much. This is also why Patrick is so high right now. And like even still, like even when he got like super fed on the Lethality Varus, right? He would just like completely be invisible in team fights. That was like just so bizarre to watch. Like, because one thing that Reckless does not realize, right, that is that it's sometimes all right to die as an AD carry, right? Because what this guy just does is like when he sees a fight that's like, oh no, his team is going to lose like 2 people there, right? He's gonna run away to just like not be the third person who dies there. But what he does not seem to realize is that if he like actually stays in the fight and puts out more damage, is that maybe they go 3-for-3 in that fight, or at least 2-for-3, which, do you know what, like going 2-for-3 in a team fight, I would say in most situations it's way better than just going like 0-for-2. Do you know what I mean? All right, there's that. Okay. Moving on. I think I exhausted my Fnatic rant for today, hopefully. Like, I just hate this team so much. Like, it's not that I hate the players, because I love Humanoid, I love Razork, I love Wunda, but just like watching this team play is painful. So, yeah, just go. Okay, next thing. Mad Lions versus Excel. I was like, if Excel wants to turn around their sinking ship, they need to start like band-aiding those problems really hard. Just like put this team on like full early game like power picks, because like they have players that are great in the late game, right? But like they just can't seem to get there. They can't seem to get to the point where they shine. So my idea was like just put like one of the lanes and the jungler on like just straight up hardcore early game picks, and try to like, bridge the gap between your terrible early game and your presumably decent late game that way. But they just don't seem willing to do that. I don't know if it's the players not wanting to play, or if it's the coaching staff really believing that this squad can like work in that way that like they want them to work. but for me, it's just like something needs to change for this team, because like this is dreadful. Like this is by far the worst team in the league, right? And I predicted them to be second. Like they have the players to be great. It's just like those guys are just not clicking together, and it's like so sad to see like Vethio on Twitter just being like, just being like fucking depressed, and like it's just, although I'm just being like hating his life completely. It's just so sad, because like, oh god, I feel for those guys. Like it's got to be hard, like when nothing's working and like you're losing every scrim and every stage game. It's like sad, like for a team that was like supposed to be real good. Yeah, because I can't imagine how those guys feel. So there's that. And also, I was the other thing I told you guys to pay attention to is like, will Mad Lions like ramp up the aggression? And I was convinced like this team is like constructed to be like super aggressive, right? And I was like, oh yeah, just put Hilly on engage and just like go straight up early game and demolish Excel, right? But what turns out happened was like actually no engagers for Hilly, and like actually Mad Lions picked scaling like pretty much across the board, and they still were like even or ahead in pretty much every lane. And Hilly's Lulu, bro, like, there was this exchange where like Xerxes wanted to gank bot lane, but just Hilly and went and just like tried to 1v1 him in the river, and Xerxes actually ended up running away because Hilly was like bopping him in the 1v1. That was funny. And I would say like even in team fights, like Hilly legitimately played the Lulu like much better than I expected, which is crazy, because I love Hilly. He's like my favorite support in the world, right? But I also don't really... I acknowledge the fact that he's like usually garbage on Enchanters, and I wanted to see him put on something like with more agency. But no, this time he actually made the Lulu look really good. So props to Hilly. And yeah, Mad Lions just surprised me by picking scaling, but they still won the early games. So I guess that's all that matters, right? Like Karzy got like a few CS behind Patrick in lane, but like I think, was it really the case? I think in the mid game, like Patrick started just like grabbing more resources or something. I don't know, because in the lane I think they were like equal in CS. Yeah, and then Patrick pulled away earlier, but it just didn't end up mattering because Karzy was playing the Sivir and just ended up being like absolute monster in the team fights. He had one of his like Karzy ints in the Herald fight, which is like, if you don't take Karzy at his worst, you don't deserve him at his best, apparently. But still, very impressive stuff from Mad Lions. And the third game I told you guys will be interesting was also a Mad Lions game, and I wanted to see like how well will the Mad Lions bot lane stack up to Comp and Trimby, because like Karzy and Hilly, I think they can be the best bot lane in the league this split, but Comp and Trimby were like the second best bot lane in the league last split, and they have played together for so long, compared to like Hilly and Karzy who just got together. And I was like, okay, can like will their synergy be good enough to go even in lane versus completely blanking, Comp and Trimby, right? And the second storyline I told you guys to follow was the top lane, because I wanted to see if first of all if Shigenda will be able to get advantages in the top lane versus Chasey, right? And second thing I really wanted to pay attention to is if Shigenda gets those advantages, can that Koi then transition them to win the game, right? And so what really happened was, let's just touch on the top lane topic, right? Because, well, Shigenda did not manage to get any advantages, right? They just picked a winning matchup for Chasey. And, it's kind of rough playing Fiora against Cassante in the first levels, But once he got to like level 4, level 6, then just like, bruh, it was no contest. Like he got bopped, right? Like I think like Tracy was up like what 30 CS at like 15 minutes. It's pretty good game from Tracy. So obviously, if Shigenda couldn't get advantages in the top lane, then Koi couldn't really play through them to win the game, right? So that point just like immediately goes away. But like the more important thing is like this bot lane for Mad Lions, and I'm gonna take the credit from I'm gonna take the credit if no one's gonna give it to me. I was probably the only person who predicted Kazi and Hylissang to be one of the top bot lanes in the league, right? Watch every other show. Watch Summoning Inside, watch Best Damn League Show, watch Euphoria. Everyone... sorry about that. Everyone predicted Kazi and Hylissang to be shit. And I was like, or at least even if not shit, they predicted them to be meme tier, like just like either go 10-0 or 0-10 every game, and I was like, maybe, but those guys are way more legit than you're giving them credit for. I was convinced that they're going to be super aggressive, but I was also convinced they're going to be like actually fucking banging at this like hardcore aggression, right? And what turns out happened is like, yeah, they are. But even if they don't play aggressive, like also another thing I told you about Kazi is like he can just like lane 1v2 and Hilly will roam around the map getting advantages. And Hilly is great at working with his jungler, and you can already see like him working with Elioya. It's so crisp right now. And it's like, it's only the second week and they are already working so well together. So just chef's kiss, because this guy predicted this bot lane to be fucking great. And sure, in this game, draft definitely helped, right? Because against Lucian Nami, Mad Lions had Ashe and Poke Varus, right? Both of them with Hail of Blades. So in the early game, they could just, like trade super hard and win the lane through that, right? So they put a lot of pressure from the draft, but also like they played the lane legitimately well. And Healy's Ashe was just a thing of beauty. It's just wonderful to watch. So really great game. If you have not watched it, like this is one VOD that I would definitely catch, because what the fuck am I doing? Because this was just a banging game. And the last game that I was like super excited about was, of course, G2 versus Vitality. And my talking points for that game were, there were 4 of them. First of all, what happens when the G2 bot lane goes versus a actually smart bot lane duo that will not just randomly end into them? Second thing was, can Bo neutralize Yike? Because in the first week, Yike has not really played versus any top tier junglers. And I think that he played versus Yankers, but that Heretic team had some of their own problems. But yeah, I just wanted to see what will happen versus a legitimately great jungler. And also, I wanted to see the laning matchup with Caps and Perks, because I was convinced there's going to be something spicy happening there. Turns out I was wrong about that. And also, I wanted to see if Photon can absolutely demolish Broken Blade in lane. And well, the draft kinda quelled my expectations for this game, because Vitality actually picked for pretty hard scaling. And in the meantime, what happened with G2 is they started picking for harder early game, but then they realized like, oh, we don't really have much scaling, and they like outscale us super hard. So to give themselves some chance in like later game team fights, they picked Trice, which then Perks counterpicked with Cassio. So the draft was kind of not what I expected for this game, but whatever. Let's just go over it anyway. So first of all, G2 bot lane is absolutely legit. Hans and Mickey are great now, but also Vitality bot lane, even though they are not performing that well right now. I was expecting more from Neon and Kaiser, but still, they were able to completely neutralize the G2 bot lane in lane. And, you know, sure, there is the draft element to it, because once again, there was a Varus Ashe versus Lucian Nami, just like in the Mad vs. Koi game. But still, the Vitality bot lane not only did not into the G2 bot lane, but also got their own advantages. So that was just a beautiful lane to watch as a bot lane mine myself. I just love it. Then in the jungle, I was like, okay, so, you know, Yike is doing pretty fantastic right now, but how well will he do when he's like against an absolute elite jungler? And well, Bo absolutely runs circles around him. Like, you know, with this Udyr pick, you've got to be like really useful in the early game, right? Sure, you can form up and be like the carry jungler type, but like with this composition, there was no way this is gonna happen. And just like Bo was everywhere on this map, just like influencing all of the lanes, and just like it was a thing of beauty. Like, it just shows that there are levels, you know? There are levels. Like, you can be a good or even very good jungler like Yike, right? But there is this elite tier that's like just another level, right? And this is what happened in this game. I still am really high on Yike, and I think he has a ton of potential to be like an actually elite jungler one day, but I just don't think he is right now, and we'll go over this when we're talking next week. But yeah, in lane, like, you know, both of them picked scaling, right? And they played pretty even in lane, right? So there was that. Perks was definitely more impressive in the later game, though. But then again, playing Ryze into Cassiopeia is just pain. So there was this, like, not much skill expression for Caps. But I'm gonna say Caps' vision on how to win games is, like, you know, this guy learned a lot from playing with players like Hylissang, Jankos, Perks. Like, this guy is actually pretty smart about the game now, and this really shows. So there's that. But individually, on like the mechanic level, like, Perks was just oof. Perks was fantastic in this game, and was fantastic all week pretty much. Even though they lost the game to SK, which we'll talk about later, like, Perks was just monstering this game. And also in the top lane, I kind of wanted to see Photon pick something like more aggressive and just absolutely demolish Broken Blade. But what ended up happening is Broken Blade was actually on the early game pick in Cassante, and Photon just picked like full scaling in Gwen, and then won the lane anyway. like I swear to God, like I know I'm like one of the few people who watched Photon before he came to Europe, right? And I still only watched a few games of him, as I mentioned in the first episode. But what I saw from this guy, I was like, this guy is just going to like completely manhandle the top lane pool in Europe. And what he did to be with us, like, you know, it doesn't look that impressive because he was like, you know, up 10 CS at 14 or something. But that's 10 CS up on Gwen versus Cassante. This, like, this, like, should not happen, you know? Yeah, Photon just absolutely winning the lane and being great in team fights. I actually love watching this player. I was like, you know, I was not expecting him to come into the league as hot as he is. But like, starting from week 1, he's just like the best top laner in the league, and like nothing much you can do about it. Pretty ridiculous from that guy. All right, so now that we caught up on the narratives from the previous week, let's see where the teams ended up after week 2. And with the standings, we've got at the top at 5-1 Vitality, which is a surprise even to me because I predicted them to be the best team in the league, right? But I expected them to take some time to get there. And still, they have some shaky games here and there, which is expected, right? But still, it only took them 2 weeks to have sole possession of the first place. Impressive. Then we've got 4 teams tied for second at 4-2 in G2 and Mad Lions, which, you know, expected. And BDS and SK Gaming. Alright. Then at 3-3 in the 6th place, we've got Heretics. Then tied for 7th at 2-4, we've got Koi and Fnatic. And then tied for last, we've got Astralis and Excel. Yeah, not quite how we imagined the split to go, isn't it? Actually, it is kind of like I imagined the split to go. Like the biggest surprises were like BDS and SK Gaming actually being good, right? I was like, you know, there is no way SK Gaming is going to be like actually good with DOS, but they ended up surprising me. And also G2 is way better than I expected. So, and those, like, out of the 4-2 teams, only Mad Lions I would have predicted to like be actual banging, right? Then Heretics is pretty much where I expected them in the 6th place. Koi is much worse than I expected. In the record, I still don't think they're a bad team, and I think they will do much better than this. Though I am not sure if they will make top 4 anymore. Fnatic, pretty much exactly where I expected. I expected this to be a like bottom 4 team, and I also gave in the first episode before the split even started a non-zero chance to them not even making top 8, which I'm gonna double down on very soon. And also Excel, much worse than I expected. I wanted those guys to be second. I am going to admit, even though I have never seen anything impressive in Xerxes, I bought into the hype, and I'm sorry. I promised in the previous episode that I'm never gonna trust Xerxes again, and I'm gonna keep my promise, because this guy is just fucking ass. So there we go. Okay, so the teams we're gonna touch on heavier this week, because I don't want to spend too much time about it, like maximum 15-20 minutes on this segment. I'm gonna touch on more on Excel. I'm gonna touch more on SK Gaming, BDS, and Mad Lions. Actually, I pretty much talked about Mad Lions already, but whatever. So let's talk about Excel. This team is a goddamn train wreck. Like it's like sad to watch them, because like in week 1 at least you've got like, you know, bright spots from like Odoamne, and then like if they got to late games, like Vethio was playing amazing in the first week, but then week 2 comes around and like, bro, it hurts to watch, because like there is no good individual performances on this team anymore, and they are shit as a team, and it's like legitimately, like, this is probably one of the worst teams I have seen in the LEC in a long while. Like, I would kind of watch. No, of course, I would not watch a best of 5 between them and 2021 BDS, because like this would just be painful, because both of the teams would lose somehow. But Excel is absolutely dreadful. There's like no proactivity on this team, and it's like just a failed experiment. And it's like 2 weeks in, and it's like, you know, this team is not going to get any better without roster changes. It's an absolute disaster, especially since I know that Excel spent quite a lot of money on this roster. So, my guy, like, this team is just, they need roster changes right now. And I think on Summoning Insight, actually Thorin and Monte pointed out that not only do they have Abedage on the bench, right? But they say this as a joke, but I think this would be a legit roster swap. Gilius is a free agent right now, right? He's not playing in the league. He's not playing in any ERLs, right? And this guy can like play for your team for like what, €100 per month or something, right? So, like, you know, it's absolutely bonkers. Then that, you know, like because this is Friday when I'm recording this, right? The LEC starts tomorrow, and they have not announced any changes yet, right? Which is absolutely like baffling, because like with no roster changes, there is no way this team like just does anything in the league anymore. So this just hurts to watch, but alright. Like, put it this way, like putting Gilius in this team, right? And you know, like I am not saying like Abedage is like better than Vithio, right? They are like probably very similar level. I would say Vethio has like better mechanics, but Abedage has a bit more experience, right? But whatever. But like, you know, and I don't think just like changing Vethio for Abedage would like magically fix the team. But adding Gilius to that mix would like actually give them, first of all, someone who's like incredibly proactive, right? Gilius is like the opposite of Xerxes. Like, Gilius is the guy who's like, he will make the play, even if like it means he'll go like 0-20 in the game. Like, if this is the only way he will win the game for his team, he will go 0-20 but have like a 600 assists or something, right? Gilius is like an absolute giga chad of a selfless player, right? And someone like that who's just like an extremely great enabler. And also just like the atmosphere that this guy brings to a team, right? This guy is like super funny. This guy is just like extremely confident, and this guy is just like someone who you just bring into a bottom team, and this team instantly becomes better, because like this guy just like pumps them up and goes like, yeah, guys, let's fucking go. So like, you know, I actually think bringing Gilius and Abedage right now would be a slam dunk in this team. But since they're not doing it, they're probably going to go 1-8, because yikes, like this team is just, watching them is painful. Like, I don't see anything worth watching in this team, and like if this was not the last week, I would just like straight up skip those games, because like it's awful. It's oh god, it's like, it's just watching this team, it's like it's clear that everyone there is just like completely depressed and like just done with this split. And it's like, it's 2 weeks in, brother. It's rough. So no, I don't think Excel has any chance of making it into the playoffs, and I sure hope they don't. Now Astralis, even though they're sitting at the same record as Excel, bro, they're so much better. They're like so much better. It's like, it pains me to see, right? Because I actually had Astralis making top 8 in my predictions video, right? But like, you know, still I expected them to be like part of the bottom 3, and yeah, they are, but they are also much better than Excel, and I would also say they're a better team than Fnatic right now, even though their record does not show it. Just, you know, actually, I have fun watching Astralis, which is more than I can say for watching Excel. I have some schadenfreude watching Fnatic, but it's not because they play well. It's because I enjoy watching Reckless just like completely fuck up every team fight after every team fight. But like, just watching Astralis is actually way more fun than watching those two. It's like, first of all, Finn, as I told you in the preview video for the split, this is the guy who you just put him on a bottom team, and this guy will just do a good job of just like, you know, sometimes doing some crazy shit to win you the game, right? This is the Finn we're getting, and like his Gnar game versus Excel was just phenomenal. And also, he played this whole thing when he just like bullied Jankos on the red buff with Fiora. That's just like, that's some Finn shit right here. I love this guy. I love watching him play. I don't think he belongs on a top team, but on a bottom team like Astralis, is absolutely a good player to watch. 113 is settling into the LEC about as well as I expected. As in, you know, the team around him is like not really allowing him to shine, but he's going for the plays, and sometimes they work out. And I am really happy that Astralis gave this guy a chance, because he gets to prove that he's not a bad jungler. It's like all the reckless fangirls were like shitting on him last year, and maybe deservedly so, because he did int many times, right? But also, I would rather have a guy who ints, but gives you the chance to win a game, than a guy who's just like goes 5-0 and then like runs away from team fights. So more stray shots at reckless, isn't it? Well, if you're saying I'm too mean at reckless, I would just tell you, well, he could just get good and I would be nice to him. But like also the Astralis bot lane is like actually like legit. Like Kobe is having probably the best split of his career right now. He was absolutely banging on Splice 4 years ago in 2019, right? And this is like him finally reaching those levels again. Like this guy is playing like an absolute giga chat right now, and I'm excited to watch him. Like I'm excited to watch Astralis. Like the only pretty much weak spot for this team that like prevents them from being great is Dio, who's like just not good in lane, right? He's still a very creative player who just like knows how to win games, but he's just not the best mid laner in the LEC, right? He's not the worst either, because we have Nuke, but he's not the greatest. Let's just say that. But still, this is a team I'm actually excited to watch, and I think they might. I'm not saying they will, right? I'm not saying they will, but they might sneak into playoffs over Fnatic. Who's next? And we've talked about this team too much. Just blow this roster up already. They need to change AD carry and jungler. Like there is no shot this roster like gets good. Like the strength of individual players is like so high. Like they can still trip over and win games, right? But like brother, just I really don't want to be watching any more of Reckless in the LEC. Like it's painful. So we're just gonna leave it at that. Koi. Now, even though they are at the same record that Fnatic is, like watching them, they don't seem like a really bad team. They just like they make some really goofy mistakes sometimes that I'm really confused as to what they are even doing, but they still have some bright spots. Like, oh yeah, and also like Com and Trimby are just not very good in lane right now, which is surprising, because this is Trimby's meta. This is the Enchanter meta, and I don't know, like maybe the vibe in the team is like shit or something, but it's so weird. But as for the good points, like Larsen is playing pretty well, right? He's not flashy, because that's not what Larsen really is, right? But he's playing well in pretty much every game. And Malrank is like continuing to be his like giga chat self, still a top 3 jungler in the league, I would say. Like guy is absolutely just like ridiculous. He will do shit that like looks just like completely weird, right? But it works, right? This guy is kind of like the Hylissang of the jungle. He just sees angles that should not be there, but they are. So he goes in, and he can gain his team an advantage that way. He's great, right? So this team still has potential. Now, Shigenda, I hope he's not like mental boomed, because this was a rough week for him, right? And I don't think he can stack up to players like Photon or like Chasey in lane, right? But like, I am really rooting for this team to turn it around. Like they will definitely make top 8, right? But yeah, like it's rough for them. I'm just gonna say that. Heretics, it's like pretty much exactly what I expected. A team that's like middle of the pack, but like plays decent macro and just like will win the game through being more experienced than the enemy team. And also Evi is played 6 straight games of Cassante, and like even though players say Cassante is overpowered, and I would actually agree with them, it's not winning much games, and I think Evi is like responsible for like half of Kasante's wins in the LEC, so that's cool to see, I guess. And also like I don't think it's just like, oh, just ban Kasante forehead. Like I think this guy has some more picks that he can show. He's actually a pretty good top laner, turns out. I wasn't singing his praises. I didn't expect him to be like top 3 in the league, right? But right now, I would say like he absolutely is. Like, who else can make a case for a top 3 top laner right now? Photon is definitely there, right? BB is definitely not. Chasey, maybe, right? Yeah, I would say Chasey is probably a good shout for the top 3. Adam, maybe. Irrelevant. He's great at playing weak side, but you don't put this guy on carries ever. Evi, yeah, it's pretty good. Shigenda, no, he's not a top 3 top laner in the league right now. Wunda, I know he can be, but he's not right now. Finn, definitely not. And although, again, he can be, but he's just not right now. So I would say, yeah, Evi is right now probably a top 3 top laner in the league. And this team is like, it's kind of hard to talk about them because they're good, but you can see that they're not, which is great, right? And Jack Spectre had like one really nice game on Zeri last week, right? But still, I would say he needs some time to grow, right? Come summer, I think this team might be like actually, competitive. But right now, I don't know. Like, sure, they will obviously make top 8, right? Just not really that interesting to watch right now. And coming into the 4 and 2 tier, now let's quickly touch on to G2. They lost some games, right, to SK and Vitality, but they're still a very good team, right? They will definitely make top 4. They're, like the talent on this team is insane, and they know how to like snowball the game so great, right? If they get a lead, they will just continue with this lead until they win, right? Now, BDS, it's like I actually did not predict this team to be good, right? In my preview video, I had them dead last, right? But the reason why I did not predict them to be good is still there. Nuke is absolutely not a great mid laner. Now, I will say his laning is pretty good this year. He's like, he's not dreadful in lane anymore, at least, but his team fighting still leaves so much to be desired, right? Just like watching this, like, even though this team is 4 and 2, right? I think they're winning despite him, right? Because like, even if he gets leads, right? He will just go into a team fight as a Kali, miss every single spell that he has, and just like, he will survive, but he will also like deal so little damage that it's baffling. And yeah, no matter what pick you give him, like Azir is the same thing. He'll go pretty well. It will go pretty well in lane, but then he just like doesn't really do anything in team fights. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because Adam, I was in the first week, right, when he had this Darius game that was like really painful, because like he got a lead and then did not do anything with him. He fixed his shit, right, and he actually started, actually helping his team like win those games, right? Sheo is turning out really well so far. I like watching this guy play. Like, he's kind like I did not expect him, but he's like kind of the Malrank 113 type jungler who's just like, he will make the play to set his team up, right? Even if it costs him some farm, which I like. This is how junglers should play the game. Learn from him, Zerxay. But yeah, like Sheo is playing absolutely super well. And the bot lane, like, actually, I was always a big fan of Labrov, right? And this year, actually, he doesn't seem that great out of lane as he was in Vitality, which is strange. But in lane, like, he's absolutely great. Like, Labrov's laning is really good this year. And also, like, Crowny is not only good in lane, but, like, his team fighting is just, like, incredible. Like, this guy puts out crazy damage numbers, and like he just plays with no fear. Like I made this joke on Twitter that, like, you know, it's a shame that Schalke is not in the league right now, because Crowley plays like full null fear style, you know. It's just whatever. Yeah, really, like, really cool team to watch, actually. Like I was saying this last week, and I'm gonna say it again. Like BDS is just a good team now. And even though they still have an obvious place, like an obvious anchor holding them back, right? They are managing to win games despite Nuke. So, yeah, like if like this team with like an actual mid laner could like actually be, you know, like a top team in the league right now, which is crazy. Yeah, absolutely impressed by BDS. Yeah, great team. And now SK Gaming. Last week I said like they are the only team I don't give a shit about watching, right? And then they went 3-0 winning versus G2, Vitality, and Koi. So touche. I also did mention in the previous episode that I like noticed Markun saying in an interview like, yeah, we're just playing like pushes on stage. We just need to start playing like we're playing in scrims, and then we'll be good, right? And what do you know? They actually are. Like Markun is like, this is the Markun I expected, right? Like he is incredible right now. His LEC games were like just such a treat to watch. He was just beautiful in them. Absolutely smurfing. Now, I will say SK Gaming has definitely benefited from the schedule this week, because G2 and Vitality were obviously prepping for each other, right? And they probably ignored SK a little bit. And, you know, still, I'm not taking any credit from SK. They played insanely well to win versus those teams, right? Would they win versus them in a best of 3? Definitely not. But still, really nice. Now, one thing I'm surprised by is the bot lane. Now, Exakick, I was like, I didn't know much about him, but I was like, I heard really good things, and I was like, okay, this guy might come in and be really good, right? But the player I was like super down on, if you rewatch my season preview, I was like, just, you know, DOS has not played a single game back in the LEC, right? And I was like, just get him out again, because he's gonna like chain int, right? And, you know, I made a bet that if DOS is a top 8 support in the league, I might have to buy a McDonald's jalapeno burger and eat it with lube. And yeah, I might have an interesting meal ahead of me right now, right? Because, you know, is he really playing? Well, he's definitely playing better than Targamas right now, right? And, you know, even though I don't think he's being great in those games, right? You can probably make a case for him over like Mersa or Labrov, so that would put him in the top 8, and that would, you know, make me have to eat some stuff that I did not expect to eat when the season started. But hey, I'm a man of my word. If I lose a bet, I'll take the L, right? But yeah, really impressive. Now, Mad Lions. I'm the resident fan of this team. It seems like everybody else in the community is surprised by how good they are, and I'm just like, well, yeah, obviously. The only question mark I really had for this team was like, you know, if Elioya's mental will be completely gone. But turns out, no, he's just the Giga Chad that he is. Like, even though he got fucked in the offseason, right? He's still an absolutely insane player. His synergy with Niski and Hylissang is just beautiful to watch. Just like, this team is going places. They are, like, I predicted them to be third, but they are playing even better than I expected. And I would actually put them as like if I were to make power rankings right now going into week 3, I would actually put Mad Lions ahead of G2. I know this is controversial, but I definitely think like they're just good. Do you know what I mean? It's like G2 has a rookie jungler that like, you know, can be kind of rough at times, right? Like he's absolutely insane executing a plan that his coaches give him, right? And like, you know, he's absolutely good at playing from ahead. But in the games where like he got put behind, like you could see that it's a rookie, right? And I don't blame him. Like Yike is still having a very good season, right? But compare that to Elioya, who's like, you know, definitely the second best jungler in the league after Bo. And woo, yeah, like this Lions team is impressive. G2, as I said, still very good, right? They have a tough schedule actually for this week, so they might even go like 6 and they might finish the split like 6-3 or 5-4. Still, they are definitely a top 3 team right now, right? With Lions and Vitality. I would say like BDS is probably the 4th, and then SK and probably Koi are following them, right? But yeah, like G2 has a rough week ahead, and we'll get to that later, right? Vitality, bro, like what else can I say? Like this team is getting their shit together way earlier than I expected. The only like worrying point is the bot lane, which is like not performing nearly as well as their individual names would suggest, right? But still, this is by far the best team in the league, right? And probably just the best team in the West right now. And like, I would say there is like a 90% chance that they win the split, maybe 85, right? I would give like G2 and Lions like, I don't know, like 7.5% each, right? I don't think any other team is like capable of winning the split right now. But yeah, Vitality, absolutely beautiful, and they'll just keep getting better. That's the crazy part, because like they are playing so well with like limited communication. Like I saw Bo's interview with Cadril, right? And it's like, it's clear that this guy's English is still very limited, right? He's very smart, right? So he's able to figure out what people are saying to him, but still like he's you know, and he's able to figure out ways to communicate to his team, but it's clear that his English is still very limited, right? But still, if this team is playing so well right now, they will only continue to get better, and I'm excited to watch that. And all right, so storylines for week 3, and this is the cool part. And we have some banger matches, right? Pretty much that's the thing with this new LEC format. Pretty much every match is worth watching, but like those are the ones that I would say are definitely the most interesting, right? First of all, we've got on Friday Astralis versus SK, and the things that you should pay attention to in this game is, first of all, can Finn get an advantage in lane versus Irrelevant, right? Because Irrelevant is really good at playing weak side. He's really fucking smart. Like still remembering that Irrelevant is a fucking rookie right now. And seeing him play weak side like so smartly, it's like just a treat, right? But Finn can bring the cheese, right? And I'm just interested to see like if you know this is enough for him to get like a huge advantage in lane. I don't expect that he will get like a huge advantage, right? But maybe like a 500 to like 1000 gold lead will be like realistic in the laning phase. And if he gets to that level, then this might be enough for him to transition into helping his team. Second point, can Astralis survive the Marcoon Typhoon and go late game? Because yeah, Marcoon is like a fucking hurricane in the early game, just like hits everywhere, just like ganks everyone, kills everything. He's absolutely cracked right now, right? And I don't necessarily think that 113 can match him at this time. So what I want for Astralis is to like try to survive the early game, right? And just like not give up any advantages. Like fight hard, yes, but you know, maybe like, you know, try trading well, but never like overcommit. to a situation where Markoon can just fuck you, right? So there's that. And also, because if Astralis goes to late game, right, I expect Kobe will absolutely monster the team fights, right? Because as good as Exaki is, like the experience on Kobe, and as well as his form right now, like I have no questions about who's the better AD carry in the late game scenario, right? So also another thing to pay attention, if the game does get to late game, can Certus shut down Kobe? Because Certus has been playing like an absolute giga chat. I didn't mention him earlier, but bro, like he's doing work right now. Like, I really liked him last year, right? Which is why a lot of people were flaming SK for keeping him. I was like, actually, glad they did, because this guy was pretty good by the end of summer last year, and I wanted to give him more time. And this Akali game he had versus who was it? Versus Koi, I think, where he like just knew his limits so fucking well, and like it's not even that he just knew the damage of the champion that he's playing and the damage that the enemies are playing. No, he had fucking confidence in being able to outplay. He TP'd into Comp and Trimby at like 60 HP as Akali, managed to like instantly burst down Trimby, right? And like, you would expect him to just back away after getting that extra kill. Yeah, but he had the Akali E on Comp, right? So at the last possible second, he went back in, he immediately shrouded himself so that Comp cannot just auto-attack him, and absolutely outplayed him and killed Comp from full HP. Like, those kind of plays are shit I expect from Caps, not Certus, right? So seeing him just go for those and make them work, it's just beautiful, right? So if this game does go late, like I really wonder, can Kobe survive? Because I expect Certus to be playing something that can like legitimately one-shot him if he mispositions even once, right? Yeah. So really exciting game to watch. And if Astralis wins this, which I would say there's probably like I would give this game like 60-40 to Astralis to SK. I would say Astralis is like a 40% chance of winning. This would probably mean that they would go into playoffs over Fnatic. So I really want them to win. Simple as that. Fnatic versus Mad. I just put this here to meme on Reckless, because he's gonna like Carzy, who got like so much hate last week, like last year. People were saying like this guy does not belong in the LEC, and those guys were creaming their pants about Reckless returning. They were like, the king in the north, the king is coming, the king is coming, and Carzy's about to come all over the king's face right now. So shut the fuck up, right? Because I don't know, like this game will be brutal, and I just want to see Carzy absolutely demolish Reckless. And also, Reckless wanted Hylissang gone from Fnatic a number of times, because he was like, oh, because Hylissang just keeps inting me the games. I'm really excited to watch Hylissang int his way to victory in this one then. I just put it in to be cheeky, to be honest. And now, BDS versus Vitality. This will be a really interesting game. And prediction for this, I would say like 80-20 Mad. Probably Fnatic has a chance to win because like their players are just too fucking good to not have a chance, right? But like, still, Mad is a massive favorite in this game. BDS versus Vitality, and then again, will two teams that are like on the top right now, but I would say there's probably a big gap. Though I would say that BDS has a better chance versus Vitality than Fnatic has versus Mad Lions, definitely. So. First thing to pay attention to. Will Bo shut down Sheo? And the answer to that is yes, he will. But, maybe not. So just watch them anyway. And also, can Photon neuter Adam? Because Adam is getting massive leads in the top lane, right? But right now he's going against probably the best top laner in the league, right? So I just want to see like what happens in the laning phase versus like between those two guys, because this can be a really fun lane to watch. Like, I hope I know that if Photon just picks scaling, he will just win the game this way, right? But I also really want them both to just like play for lane and just like absolutely brawl it out, because I think this will be a great matchup to watch if the draft is exciting. And also, will Crownie carry anyway? Because even though like before the split I would absolutely put Neon ahead of Crownie, right now Crownie is playing like an absolute monster, and I want to see if he can carry this game versus Vitality. Who will be prepping for them? Like, they definitely should be, right? Because this is probably Vitality's hardest game this week. Like, if Crownie can carry this game anyway, then fucking hell. Just impressive, right? I'd say this is a 76-33 Vitality. Now, then we've got Astralis versus Fnatic, and I'm just putting it here because I think this is like a 50-50, like complete coin flip, right? I think like obviously Fnatic has better players in 4 roles, right? But I still think Astralis has like a 50% chance to win this game, because Fnatic as a team is just completely dog shit, right? And I want to see like Astralis top side use really good team play, right? I want 113 to just like be absolutely shadowing both of his lanes this game, right? And just like be ready to counter any gank, because Razork is not really the best jungler at like early ganks, right? So if 113 is there to counter them, right? And especially, you know, if like Finn and Dior can like roam to counter those ganks as well, they can actually, you know, get some kills done on those ganks, right? Like, I would say the team play for those guys will probably be much better than for the Fnatic top side. So, yeah, they would have to use this team play to survive, right? Because they are not winning this game on individual skill, right? In the top side. And in the late game, I would really want to see, can Astralis neutralize Humanoid, right? Because Astralis has a huge carry in Kobe, right? And I don't even put this here, like, it's not about hate. It's like, I just don't think it's a question whether Kobe will be better than Reckless in the late game team fights. Like, he will just obviously put down much more damage, right? And, you know, the way Fnatic would win those team fights is by Humanoid just popping off, right? So I really want to see Astralis just like completely lock him down in late game team fights, because I know that if Humanoid dies in the late game team fights, unless, you know, like Razork is on a carry jungler or Wunder on a carry top or something, but most likely they will put, Razork on something like a Vi and the Wunder on like a tank, right? Like Gragas or Cassante or whatever. If that is the case, then if Astralis can just, you know, neutralize Humanoid at the start of every fight, then Reckless will just run away and they will just win the game that way, right? So those are the 2 interesting things to pay attention to. And also look at the draft, right? Because if Astralis, like, if it turns out that I'm right, and, you know, Humanoid is not something like Azir or something else that can like be a hyper carry in the late game, right? And Astralis picks tons of like, you know, point and click CC, I think Astralis like will win the game. So yeah, 50-50 I would say on that game. G2 versus Koi. And this game will be difficult for Koi, right? But there are some avenues for them to win. First of all, can Koi play hardcore for top lane? Broken Blade is not good at being weak side, right? And Broken Blade is not great at absorbing pressure. So, you know, if I am Koi, right? Like, you know, leaving this top matchup in isolation is probably fine, right? But also like playing hardcore for top side could be a way to like get an advantage in the game. But then this opens up G2 to play aggressive in their bot lane, right? So my next point is like, can Comp and Trimby do what Kaiser and Neon did, which is, you know, shut down the G2 bottom lane, right? Because Hans and Mickey are definitely the 2 best players on G2 right now, right? And if, but like if Comp and Trimby can get their shit together and like actually, you know, go even in lane, I'm not even saying win the lane, just go even. Then you know, Koi can have a chance in this game. And, you know, can Malrank put G2 laners behind? This is, you know, another game. Like, this is, you know, the second or third, if you count Markun. I guess you can count Jankos, but I don't really count the Heretics game. But it's like the third time G2 and Yike will go against like an elite jungler, right? And I want to see if like Malrank can just like go full aggro mode and like completely dominate the game and just like get his laners ahead. Because if he can, then that's the way for Koi to win. I would say this game is probably like a 70-30 for G2. But Koi definitely has a shot. SK versus Fnatic. Yes, I put all three of Fnatic games here because I really want to watch them not making it. Because, you know, put it this way, like versus Mad, there's like very little chance they win. Versus Astralis, it's like a 50-50, right? And if Astralis wins this, then they're pretty much guaranteed in, right? And versus, actually, if both teams are like 2-7, then Astralis could go in on tiebreakers. That's fair. But anyway, yeah. So SK versus Fnatic, like this is another game that I don't expect Fnatic to win, right? If they do, first of all, they would have to get leads through mid, right? Because as good as Certus is, he's not humanoid, right? So for Fnatic to win this team would have to mean that like those players actually have fire under their asses and they play, you know, and they take this pressure to heart and use it to step the fuck up. And if that does happen, then first of all, humanoid will get a massive lead in the middle lane, right? Because I told you in the past, he's the best mid laner in the LEC when he gives a shit, right? And it was obvious that so far he did not activate the giving a shit mode yet. Like if he can motivate himself to actually like practice hard for this week, like this guy can just like completely demolish Certus in lane, right? So you know, this will be the first sign that Fnatic can actually win the game if they get a huge lead through mid lane. And the second thing is, can Reckless actually step up in teamfight? Because so far he's been just like absolutely useless. Like he's been putting out straight up reportable performances as the AD carry. Not in like, you know, inting, but just like being completely fucking AFK in teamfights. So the other thing required for Fnatic to win this game would be like Reckless actually stepping up and just like, you know, being like, you know what, I might die, but I'm just gonna go and do damage in this team fight, right? And if he can't do that, then Fnatic can win, right? But I'm gonna give it as a 60-40 to SK. And then last game, like this will be an absolute banger. This will be like, I mean, they're probably gonna pick it as the match of the week, right? I mean, they should. It's gonna be G2 versus Mad Lions, and this is gonna be a hugely exciting game. First of all, we've got Yike versus Top Junglers, episode 3 or 4 or 5, whatever. But like, you know, Elioya is like an absolute monster, right? He's not Bo, but you know, he's better than everyone else in the league other than Bo. So I am really excited to see like, will Elioya be able to just do to Yike what Bo did, right? So I'm really excited to see that because I want to see that progression from Yike, and you know, this will be his last game of the split, I think, right? So he will already have some games under his belt against like actual elite EU junglers, right? So like, I want to see if Yike can actually match Elioya in this game, right? I want to see that because I hope he does for his own sake. Look, I didn't expect growth this fast from him, right? At the end, at the start of the split, I didn't even put G2 in the top 5 because I thought like Yike is good, but he will take a lot of time to grow, right? But if he can actually like beat Elioya in this game, this will be huge. This means like G2 is like way ahead of schedule, right? Which would be great for competition in Europe. And also, I want to see that Carzzy and Hilly lane versus Hans and Mickey, right? Because Hans and Mickey are on an absolute tear, right? And I think Carzzy and Hilly are right now the only bot lane in the league who's playing lane as well as Hans and Mickey. Maybe this is Copium, sure, because like they haven't been getting those huge leads, right? But I really do think they're playing lane extremely well, and I hope that they can show it in this game. So those are the most interesting matches for the next week, but I'm gonna level with you guys. All the matches besides the XL ones are going to be exciting to watch because, like, we pretty much got like 9 teams left in the league, unless XL announced, like a substitution while I was recording this. But I don't think they did, right? So, unless they did, I think they're all. Excuse me. I think they're like already mentally out, right? But all the other, like, still, it's exciting to watch those games because you might never know. Maybe something weird happens and they like finally click right out of the blue. So like there's only 15 games left in the regular split and they will be played on the last 3 days, right? So I would say it's definitely worth it to tune in for every single game. That's what I will be doing, right? But also I'm doing this podcast, right? So if you don't, then of course I'm gonna summarize what happened on the next episode of Zoomin on the Rift. Thank you, lads and ladies, so much for watching this. If you enjoyed my analysis, then just go into the comments and write Carzzy is the GOAT. Just if you've been continuing watching this video until this point, you owe me this one. Just do it for me, right? I just want people who haven't watched till the end to see the comment section being full of Carzzy is the GOAT, because I know this will trigger some people. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, do all the YouTube stuff. I'm not really great at understanding how YouTube works, so just do the things that help the algorithm, because you Zoomers are probably better at that than I am, right? So thank you so much and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.